He arrived with a small gray suitcase and a plain jacket that did not look expensive. Daniel Hart was the CEO of a well-known hotel group, but today he did not look like a CEO. He wore a baseball cap, simple shoes, and no watch. He had checked into many hotels in his life, but this time was different. He wanted to see the truth. He wanted to feel what a normal guest felt. He wanted to learn what his staff felt when managers were near and when no one was watching. He chose a small city property in his own chain, a place with kind staff but mixed reviews about management. He booked under a quiet name, Mr. Collins. The taxi stopped in front of the hotel. It was a gentle morning, not too hot, not too cold. The glass doors slid open with a soft hiss. A plant in a tall white pot stood by the entrance, leaves shining under the lights. He smiled at the little details, the clean mat, a bowl of lemon water on a stand, and a notice board with the day's weather. These were small things, but small things showed care. He also noticed a few signs of tiredness. One tile near the door had a scuff. A brochure holder needed straightening. These were small too, but they spoke. Inside, the lobby felt busy in a gentle way. A phone rang behind the front desk. A printer hummed. A bellhop pushed a trolley stacked with 2 suitcases and a folded stroller. At the desk stood Mr. Blake, the front desk manager. He wore a dark suit that fit well. His tie was neat. His hair was brushed back like fine lines on a page. He smiled, but his eyes moved like a scanner, left to right, up and down, as if he was checking for mistakes. Beside him, a young front desk associate, Mia, welcomed guests with a warm, soft voice. At the edge of the lobby, a housekeeper hurried past with a basket of fresh towels. Her name tag read Ava. She moved quickly, but with care, like someone who wants to do good work. Daniel took his place in the small line. A family finished checking in. Mia looked at him and smiled. "Good morning, sir. Welcome." "Checking in?" she asked. Her voice was bright but a little careful. He handed over his ID with the alias. "Yes, one night for Collins," he said. She typed. The keyboard clacked. A moment later, Mr. Blake leaned in, speaking low but firm. "Mia, remember the script. Offer water first," he said. He was not loud, but his tone was cold. Mia nodded at once and picked up the rhythm again. She offered Daniel a small glass. He accepted it with thanks. He noted the look in her eyes, polite, a little tense, like a student who wants to get every answer right in front of a strict teacher. The check-in was smooth. Mia explained breakfast times, Wi-Fi, and the gym. She did a good job. Mr. Blake listened, like a judge. When she paused, he said, "Good. Keep the eye contact." It sounded like praise, but it also felt like a warning. Daniel thanked them and took his key card. As he turned, he saw Ava crossing the lobby with a fresh stack of towels. She stepped aside for him, smiled quickly, then moved on. Her steps were fast, her shoulders a little tight. His room on the 4th floor was clean and simple. The sheets were crisp. The desk had a small notepad with the hotel logo. There was a tiny scuff on one wall near the luggage rack, but the bathroom smelled fresh and looked spotless. The mirror gleamed. He could feel the care of the person who had made the bed and wiped the taps. He put his bag down and sat on the edge of the bed. He took out a small notebook. On the first line he wrote, "Warm staff, manager's tone sharp, smiles under pressure." He looked out the window at the street below and thought about why he had come. Weeks earlier, he had read reviews that said, "Staff are kind, but the place feels tense," and "The manager talks in a cold voice, even in front of guests." There were also good notes. "Housekeeping is great," and "Front desk woman was very helpful." The mix told a story. It told him the people cared, but something in the culture was heavy. Culture is the air people breathe at work. If the air is heavy, even good hearts feel tired. He walked back down to the lobby, this time as a quiet guest with time to watch. He sat in a lounge chair near a tall lamp and opened a newspaper he did not plan to read. He listened. He looked. A couple, in their 60s, asked for directions to a museum. Mia drew a simple map on a card and added a tip for a coffee shop. Her voice sounded lighter now that Mr. Blake was with another guest. A bellhop named Jonah knelt to tie a loose strap on a child's bag. The child giggled. These were bright moments. Daniel felt a small warmth in his chest. Then the phone rang. Mr. Blake picked it up and spoke in a perfect hotel voice. When he hung up, he turned to Mia. "You did not ask for the loyalty number earlier," he said. He did not shout. He did not insult. But the words were hard, like a door that closes suddenly. Mia said, "I will remember," and dropped her eyes for a second. She looked back up and smiled at the next guest. Daniel wrote, "Public correction, not loud but visible." Smile returns fast. He let 20 minutes pass. Then he stood and asked at the desk, "Could I have an extra pillow?" Mia said, "Of course," and noted the room number. 10 minutes later, there was a knock. It was Ava. She held the pillow in a clean cover and a small lavender sachet. "Some guests like this for sleep," she said. Her voice was honest and friendly. Daniel thanked her. He kept his words simple. "You move fast." "Thank you, Ava." She nodded, a little surprised at being thanked. "We try our best," she said. Her eyes shifted for a moment toward the hallway, as if to check who might be watching. Then she left. He walked the hallway after she went. On a staff door, a paper schedule was taped up, but the dates were from last week. Some names had been crossed out with pen. New times were written on sticky notes. He saw no clear break schedule. He saw a small poster about safety, but it was faded. It made him think, people here were doing their best, but the systems around them were old and thin. When systems are thin, people carry extra weight. Back downstairs, he stood near the elevator as two staff members waited for the lift. They spoke quietly. "Is Mr. Blake on till close?" one asked. "Yes," the other said. "Be careful with the script." It was not gossip. It was a warning, like telling a friend not to slip on a wet step. The elevator came and they stepped in. Daniel did not follow. He wrote, "Staff coach each other to avoid manager's criticism. Not healthy, not safe to learn." He took a slow walk through the breakfast area even though it was late morning and service had ended. He looked at the layout. The coffee station stood near the entrance. Sugar packets were in a shallow bowl that would run out fast during a rush. Napkins were in a single holder. He saw a small sign that said, "Caution, hot," but it was placed low, where it might be missed. A single cart sat in the corner with cleaning cloths and spare cups. He could picture the pressure of a busy morning. People circling the coffee station, a spill, a staff member trying to fix it alone while others kept serving. He could feel the tension of that scene forming in his mind like a sketch. At noon, he stepped outside and took a short walk. He passed a bakery and bought a small roll. A child in a school uniform tugged a parent's hand, laughing. The air felt lighter outside. He thought of his first job in a hotel, years ago, when he was a night porter. He remembered a supervisor who taught him two good rules: praise in public, teach in private, and ask for help before a mistake grows. Those rules were simple. They cost nothing, but they made people stand taller. He looked back at the hotel and wondered when those rules had become soft in this place. When he returned, he sat in a quiet corner again. He watched Mr. Blake walk across the lobby. Mr. Blake's suit moved cleanly, his steps precise. He adjusted a brochure on a table, lined up the corners, and moved a small vase by an inch. He cared about order. Order is not wrong, but order without kindness turns hard. Mia greeted a new guest and stumbled for a second on a word. Mr. Blake approached, corrected her phrase in front of the guest, and walked away. The guest blinked. Mia continued bravely. Daniel felt the room change for a moment, like a soft light going dim. In the mid-afternoon, the lobby quieted. Jonah polished the bell at the desk for a moment and then laughed at himself, shaking his head. "I don't think it really needs it," he said to no one, smiling. Ava rolled a stocked cart through, heading toward the elevators. She had added a small basket with spare hand towels near the entrance, a smart idea. She paused to help an elderly man adjust a suitcase strap. He thanked her again and again. She replied, "It's okay. I'm glad to help." Simple words. Real care. Daniel went back to his room to write more notes. He listed what was strong. Kind staff, fast response, clean rooms, natural warmth. He listed what was weak. Public corrections, old schedules, thin staffing in morning, fear of speaking up. He underlined one sentence. Guests can feel tension. He knew that if a guest could feel it, the problem was not small. Guests come for rest. They should not have to read the stress in the warm air. As the sun lowered, he returned to the lobby again. He wanted to see the early evening, when new guests arrive and tired guests come back from the day. The lobby filled with rolling bags and small goodbyes. A young staff member came in for her shift. Her tie was a little crooked and she tried to fix it with shaking fingers. Mr. Blake saw her, stepped close and adjusted the tie himself, swift and neat. He said, "Look sharp," and walked away. The young woman's cheeks went pink. She nodded and took her place. Daniel watched, the way her shoulders drew in. He wrote, "Touching staff to fix uniform in public, not kind, could be said." Daniel woke before his alarm. The room was still and gray, the kind of light that comes just before sunrise. He sat up, washed his face, and put on the same plain jacket from yesterday. He looked like any traveler, not special, not important. He took his small notebook, slipped it into his pocket, and checked the time. The breakfast room would open soon. He wanted to be there before the rush to see how the space changed from quiet to busy and to watch how the team moved when pressure grew. He reached the lobby as a soft song played from ceiling speakers. The chairs were neatly arranged, the floor clean, and the smell of fresh coffee floated from around the corner. A sign on a little easel said, "Breakfast 6:30-10 wound." He saw 2 servers carrying baskets of bread and a tray of fruit. One server laughed softly at something the other said. Their shoulders were relaxed in the early calm. At the coffee station, a woman from the kitchen, wearing a white cap and a tidy apron, placed new cups in a line. Ava rolled in a small cart with extra napkins, a bin for used plates, and a spray bottle for quick cleanups. She checked the sugar packets, adjusted the napkin holder, and wiped the counter with care. Daniel chose a table near the coffee station, but not too close. He did not want to look like he was watching on purpose. He picked up a newspaper and folded it in half so he could see the room over the top edge. At first, only a few guests came in, a couple in workout clothes, a man with a laptop bag, and an older woman with a paperback book. Everyone moved slowly, smiled, and spoke in soft voices. The room felt gentle, like a lake at dawn. Then, the first wave arrived. A small tour group shuffled in, talking quietly among themselves. A family with 2 children came next, the kids pointing at the pastry case with happy faces. A pair of business travelers took a table by the window and started comparing calendars on their phones. The room warmed with sound. The servers moved faster. The coffee line grew. A few people deep, then 5, then 8. The little napkin holder emptied almost at once. A hand reached, found nothing, and left without complaint. Ava saw it and brought a fresh stack, quick as a blink. Mr. Blake appeared, at the doorway with his straight shoulders and quiet shoes. He walked the edge of the room, eyes scanning, mouth set. Daniel watched the way people's bodies changed when they noticed the manager. The servers' smiles stayed, but their shoulders lifted a little, tight as a held breath. Ava kept moving, but her steps became shorter, more careful. Mr. Blake adjusted a sign by the fruit, centered a bowl by an inch, and moved a chair that was out of line. He did not speak yet. Daniel set down his newspaper and stood to get coffee. He took a slow step at a time, counting in his head as guests moved in and out. A boy pointed at a cereal dispenser and asked his mother if he could do it himself. She said yes. The boy turned the handle too far. A stream of cereal spilled, bright pieces sliding and bouncing onto the floor. The mother put a hand to her mouth, embarrassed, and bent to pick up what she could. Ava saw it from across the room. She was at the spill in seconds, calm and kind. "It's okay," she said to the mother with a warm smile. "I will take care of it." She placed a small yellow caution sign on the floor and knelt to scoop the cereal into a bin. Her hands moved fast and tidy. The boy looked worried, then relieved as she winked at him and said, "Happens to all of us." The coffee station was now crowded. A tall man in a suit tried to step around the caution sign and bumped the corner of the table. A splash of hot coffee jumped out of a cup and fell in a dark arc, landing near Ava's hand. She pulled back in time. The coffee hit the tile. One brown drop touched the leg of a chair. A hush passed through a few guests close to the spill. Ava stayed steady. She stood, lifted the sign, widened the safe space, and reached for fresh towels from her cart. "One moment," she said in a clear voice. "I will make this safe." She pressed the towels onto the wet tile, then used the spray bottle and a clean cloth. Her face stayed calm. Her movements were practiced. Daniel looked at his watch and counted. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30. He saw no panic in her eyes, only focus. Mr. Blake stepped in fast. He did not shout. He did not use harsh words, but his voice was sharp, and he carried it over the heads of guests. "Ava, what is this? We cannot have this mess in the middle of service," he said. He was not angry in the dramatic sense, yet the tone cut like a thin, cold wind. A few guests looked up. The mother, who felt guilty about the cereal, turned her face away. The boy held his mother's arm. The tall man in the suit stepped back, unsure. Ava kept working. "It happened just now," she said gently. "I am cleaning it." She pressed another towel down, lifted it, and checked for more wet spots. Her voice was respectful, steady. She did not give excuses. She did not blame the child, the tall man, or anyone. She focused on solving the problem. Daniel counted again. 1 minute, 1 minute, and 10 seconds. The area was nearly dry. The caution sign stood in the right place. Guests were moving around, safely. Mr. Blake continued, still in that clear tone for all to hear. "We should anticipate this," he said. "Why is there not a second person here during the first rush? Where is the backup? Our image matters." He turned slightly, as if speaking not just to Ava but to the room, to the air, to the idea of perfect order. A server paused with a tray, caught, and then moved again. The air felt tight. The warmth of the early morning had cooled. Ava rose. With the last damp towel, placed it in the bin and straightened. She gave a small nod. "I will bring more napkins and place them on both sides," she said. "And I will keep the caution sign here for now." Her voice was practical. She took 2 steps toward her cart. Daniel said, in an easy guest voice, "Excuse me, could I have a napkin too?" Ava turned at once, gave him 2, and added, "Thank you for your patience." She smiled in a way that made it easy for him to smile back. He saw that her hands were steady now. Her eyes were bright, not wet, not cold, simply attentive. He wrote one short note in his mind. Composure under pressure. The room slowly found its old rhythm. The boy poured cereal with careful hands and a proud face. The mother thanked Ava for her kindness. The tall man said, "My fault," and took a fresh cup. The servers moved again with small jokes and gentle steps. Daniel sat with a plate of simple breakfast, toast and fruit, and took a slow bite, still watching the pattern of people and motion. Mr. Blake did not leave the area right away. He stood by the coffee station and adjusted a stack of cups. He told a server to remove a tiny chip from a saucer. He straightened the sugar bowl again. To a passing staff member, he said, "Keep the pathway clear," even though the pathway was already clear. He spoke in lines, short and precise. He did not look at Ava again, but his earlier words still hung in the air like a faint echo. Daniel finished his toast and folded the newspaper on the table. He watched the clock, 20 minutes into the rush. He saw one more small detail that told him a bigger truth. At the moment of the spill, the other staff had not moved toward Ava. They had paused, eyes shifting to Mr. Blake as if waiting to see if they were allowed to help. They cared. He believed that. But they had learned to hold back. When people fear correction, they freeze first and act second. That delay can turn small problems into bigger ones. After the first wave, the room calmed. Daniel stood and walked, a slow circle. He stopped near the cereal area where the boy's mother folded her napkin. "The staff were very kind," she said softly to him, as if sharing a secret. He smiled and said, "Yes, they were." He did not give advice, did not reveal his thoughts. He just let the moment be simple. When he reached the coffee station again, Ava was there, refilling napkins on both sides, just as she had said. He leaned a little closer, his voice warm and low. "Thank you for taking care of that quickly," he said. "It helped everyone feel safe." She looked surprised for a second, then grateful. "We try to keep it smooth," she said, and went on with her work. Mr. Blake approached from the other side. "Ava," he said softer now, "the mat near the juice is crooked." She moved at once to fix it, and he walked away without another word. Daniel noted the pattern. Constant small corrections in public, quiet praise almost never. He had been in hotels long enough to know that staff can handle hard work, long hours, even difficult guests if the culture carries fairness and respect. But if the culture is thin on respect, energy leaks away like air from a small hole in a tire. People still move, but they feel a drag with every step. He took a seat at the edge of the room and started writing in his notebook on his lap. He wrote simple lines. Spill at 7:05. Ava response fast, under 90 seconds. Manager voice public, cold. Staff freeze, then move. Guests uncomfortable, but recover. He added a star next to a new thought. Root cause. No backup at first. Rush. Supplies placed too far from station. Napkins on one side only. Layout invites bumps. Problems are often not about people alone. They are about design, training, and support. He drew a tiny map of the coffee area in his notes and marked the flow with arrows. He saw 3 small changes that would reduce risk at once. When breakfast ended, he followed the natural flow back into the lobby. The room returned to quiet. The servers stacked chairs with soft hands and rolled the pastry case away. Ava guided the cart out with a calm face. Not slow, not rushed. Daniel checked his watch again and smiled to himself. The morning had shown him what. Daniel spent the late morning moving like any ordinary guest, but he had a quiet plan. He wanted to see how the team helped when small needs came up, how they passed messages, and how they worked across departments. He started simple. He picked up the room phone and pressed the button for guest services. Mia answered with a bright voice. "Good morning, guest services. This is Mia. How may I help you?" Daniel said he had a small request, an iron and an ironing board. He watched the clock after he hung up. 4 minutes later, the door knocked. Jonah stood there, smiling, the iron in one hand, the board in the other. "Here you go, sir," he said. He showed Daniel how the safety switch worked and asked if there was anything else he needed. It was smooth, fast, and kind. Daniel made a note, cross-team handoff strong. Bellhop supports rooms when needed. He set up the board, then folded it back down and called again with a different request. 2 extra bath towels and a small sewing kit. This time, a different voice answered. "Housekeeping," said a calm woman named Rosa from the back office. "We will send it right away." 12 minutes passed. Ava arrived with the towels and a neat pouch, but her breathing was a little quick. "Sorry for the wait," she said. "We had 2 urgent rooms at once." Daniel thanked her, then asked, a simple question a guest might ask, "How do you keep track of all the requests?" Ava smiled softly. Rosa writes them down and radios us. We try to do them in order. Sometimes we get many at once. He nodded and let her go, then wrote, "No digital board, manual radio, works, but slow when busy." He changed his shirt, tucked his notebook into his jacket, and walked down to the lobby to continue his quiet listening. He chose a seat near the side corridor, the one staff used to reach the service lift. He could hear small pieces of conversation as people passed. "We're out of the extra-large pillowcases," a young voice said. "Use standard and tuck," replied another. "Mr. Blake wants all plates cleared in 2 minutes," someone else whispered after breakfast. None of the words were unkind. They were simply proof of a team trying to move fast without enough small tools to make their speed feel easy. At the desk, a delivery person arrived with a cart of clean linens. Daniel rose and drifted nearby as Mia signed for the order. The delivery person, a man with gentle eyes, said, "We had to substitute 2 bundles. Your usual ones were delayed." Mia looked uncertain. She glanced toward the back office where Mr. Blake stood at a computer. "Please bring them in," she said, polite but a little unsure if the change was okay. Daniel watched the small hesitation, the way a simple decision waited for permission. He wrote, "Decision flow thin. Staff, wait for manager even on minor subs. Slows work." He stepped outside for air and saw a quiet corner of the property where a small bench faced a tree. A maintenance cart sat nearby and a man in blue coveralls checked a list on a clipboard. Daniel walked over and greeted him. "Nice day," he said. The man smiled. "It is. I'm Amir, maintenance." Daniel nodded. "I like how clean that lobby looks," he said honestly. "Does anything break often?" Amir laughed softly, not in a mocking way, more like a friendly answer from a tired friend. "Elevator buttons," he said. "People press once, nothing happens, they press 5 times, we swap them every few months." Daniel asked, "Do you get called a lot during rush hours?" Amir nodded. "Yes, but sometimes we hear about a problem late. People don't radio us right away because they try to fix it themselves first. They don't want to bother the front desk." Daniel made a note. "Late alerts. Team tries to carry too much alone." Back inside, he stopped by the small business center to print a page as a test. The printer worked, but the paper tray was nearly empty. He told Mia with a smile, "I think the printer is low on paper." She thanked him warmly and wrote it down. "I'll ask someone to top it up," she said, and then out of habit looked toward Mr. Blake for a nod. He gave one without looking up from his screen. Daniel felt kind toward everyone in that moment. He did not feel angry. He simply saw a pattern that could change with simple coaching. Trust people to handle small tasks without permission. He wanted to listen more to the back-of-house rhythm, the place where guests rarely go but where the hotel's heartbeat lives. He asked Mia if he could leave a small thank-you note for housekeeping. "Of course," she said, and guided him to a short corridor near the service lift. On the wall there was a corkboard with shift times and a few notes. The schedule still had sticky notes layered over older sheets. A small, hand-drawn chart, labeled Lost and Found, had neat entries in blue pen. Daniel read the names and dates and smiled at the care in the handwriting. He slid a folded card under a magnet with a simple message. "Thank you for keeping rooms so tidy." It shows. Then he stepped back so as not to be in the way. Rosa, the housekeeping lead, noticed him. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked, kind but protective of her team's space. Daniel smiled. "Just wanted to leave a thank you," he said. "My room is very clean." Rosa's face softened. "That is good to hear," she said. He took a small risk and asked a plain question. "Do you have enough staff in the morning?" Rosa let out a slow breath. "We do our best," she said. "Some days we are perfect. Some days we are short. We share rooms and help each other. The girls skip break sometimes when we fall behind. I tell them not to, but they want to finish." It was not a complaint. It was a truth told with pride and a little worry. Daniel thanked her and left, careful not to say more. At lunch, he chose the small grill by the river that Mia had recommended. He ate a simple meal and thought about what he had seen. He listed 3 easy wins in his notebook. 1. Put napkins on both sides of coffee station. 2. Add a second person at the station for 6:45 to 7:30. 3. Create a quick, friendly help signal any staff can use without asking. He added 3 culture notes. 1. Praise in public. 2. Correct in private. 3. Let people decide small things. He underlined one sentence. Make it safe to ask for help. When he returned to the hotel, the lobby had that quiet early afternoon mood, with sunlight on the floor and soft footsteps. He saw Ava near the elevator with a fresh cart, restocking the caddies on each floor. He waited until she finished and asked, "How is your day now?" She smiled with a little surprise that a guest would ask. "Better," she said. "Rush is over." He said, "I like the way you kept the coffee area safe this morning." She shook her head. "We all try," she said, and then added softly, "Sometimes it is heavy when we are told things in front of everyone, but I know the manager wants everything to look perfect." She looked down, as if worried she had said too much. Daniel kept his voice gentle. "Thank you for sharing," he said. "I think people do their best when they feel respected." She nodded, and the elevator doors opened. Daniel decided to test one more flow. How the team handled a small mistake from a guest. He walked to the front desk with a calm face. "I think I left my pen in the breakfast room," he said. It was a gift. This was true. He had placed a simple pen on purpose near the window earlier. Mia said, "Let me check for you." She called on the radio with clear words. "Lost item, black pen, possible near window table." A minute later, Jonah walked by with the pen in his hand. "Is this the one?" he asked. Daniel smiled. "Yes, thank you." The whole exchange took 3 minutes. The team had a working system and a kind speed. He wrote, "Care shows in small returns. Good habit." Later, he found a spot in the lobby where he could see Mr. Blake greet a new trainee. The trainee was a young man with neat hair and nervous hands. Mr. Blake stood straight, gave him a script, and walked him through the steps: greeting, ID, payment, keycard, directions. He was clear and thorough. He did know his craft. But when the trainee stumbled on a phrase, Mr. Blake corrected him in front of 2 waiting guests with a tight smile and a firm tone. The trainee flushed and rushed the rest of his words. Daniel did not blame Mr. Blake for wanting high standards. Standards matter. He simply knew there was a kinder way to reach them. He stepped aside to a quiet corner and drew a short ladder. In his notebook, on each rung he wrote a word: safety, respect, clarity, practice, pride. He asked himself, which rung is missing here? He circled respect. The others were present, even if not perfect. Rooms were safe and clean. Directions were clear. Staff practiced scripts. People took pride. But respect wavered whenever feedback was given in front of others. That one missing rung made the whole ladder feel shaky. The afternoon passed into early evening. Guests returned from meetings and walks. A child held a paper crown from a shop. A couple carried a small bag of desserts. Daniel asked Jonah how long he had worked at the hotel. 3 years, Jonah said proudly. I like helping families. I like the small wins, like when I can get a stroller through a narrow door without a bump. Daniel asked what made a day feel good to him. Jonah thought for a second. When we help each other fast, he said. When I can see someone is overloaded and I step in and we laugh after, it makes me feel part of something. Daniel asked, and what makes a day feel hard? Jonah's smile faded a little. When someone gets corrected in front of a guest, he said quietly. It makes the place feel cold for a while. Daniel thanked him and walked toward the little bench again. He sat for a moment and looked at the sky through the tree. He remembered his first boss who used to say, people remember how you made them feel more than what you told them to. Daniel woke with a steady mind. He had listened, watched, and learned. Now it was time to step in with care. He dressed in the same simple jacket, tucked his notebook into his pocket, and took a quiet breath at the door. He was still a guest, in appearance, but today he would also be the leader his people needed. He walked to the elevator and pressed the button, feeling calm, clear, and ready. The lobby had its gentle morning shine. Mia greeted a couple with her bright voice. Jonah adjusted a luggage strap for an older guest and joked lightly to make the man smile. Ava crossed the floor with fresh towels for a family who had checked in late. Everything looked normal, but Daniel could feel small threads of tension in the air, the same way one can feel a change in weather before the clouds arrive. Near the front desk, Mr. Blake stood tall and precise, checking the day's arrivals on the screen. He saw a young trainee place 2 key cards in a thin paper wallet, then pause, unsure which side to write the room number on. The trainee glanced up to ask. Before he could speak, Mr. Blake reached forward, took the paper and corrected him in front of 2 guests, firm and low, but in public. "Here, not there," he said, "and write clearly." The trainee nodded quickly. His hands trembled as he wrote the numbers. The guests looked away with polite faces. The small moment passed, but it left a mark in the room, tiny, but real. Daniel did not raise his voice. He did not make a scene. He simply stepped forward and said in a calm tone that carried, "Mr. Blake, may I speak with you for a moment?" The manager turned, ready to answer a guest. Daniel's eyes were steady and kind. "Let's find a quiet corner," Daniel added, "and please invite Ava and Mia to join us." The words were gentle, but they had a firm center. Mr. Blake hesitated, surprised. He looked at Daniel's simple jacket, then at his calm face, and then gave a slow nod. They moved to a small lounge area near a tall plant, away from the flow of guests. Mia arrived first, a little worried, hands folded. Ava came next, still holding a folded towel, unsure if she should set it down. Daniel smiled at both. "Thank you for coming," he said. Then he turned to Mr. Blake, reached into his pocket, and took out his real card. He placed it on the table between them. "My name is Daniel Hart," he said softly. "I am the CEO of this hotel group." There was a breathless pause, as if the room had gently leaned forward. Mia's eyes widened. Ava's mouth opened just a little in surprise. Mr. Blake stood very still, like a person trying to keep balance on a narrow step. He forced a small smile that did not reach his eyes. "Sir," he said. "I did not know." Daniel lifted one, hand kind and steady. "It's okay," he said. "I came to see the truth of the guest experience, and I have seen a lot of good. I want to start there." He turned to Mia. "You are warm and clear with guests. They trust your directions because you speak with care." He turned to Ava. "You keep people safe. You moved fast during the coffee spill. You were calm. That made the room calm." He looked back at Mr. Blake. "You know your craft. Your lobby is tidy. Your check-in steps are correct. You want high standards, that matters." He let those words settle. Then he continued, still gentle but with purpose. "I have also seen a habit that hurts the team and touches our guests. Corrections in public. Teaching in front of others." He shook his head slightly. "It makes good people feel small and it makes the air feel cold. Guests notice. They may not say it, but they do feel it." Mia stood very straight, as if bracing for a wave. Ava looked at the carpet, then lifted her eyes. Mr. Blake's jaw moved once, as if holding in a defense. Daniel did not attack. He asked a question. "Ava, may I ask you kindly to share one moment from yesterday morning? Only the facts, no blame." Ava spoke softly. "There was a spill at the coffee station," she said. "A child turned the cereal handle too far. Then a cup was bumped. I placed the caution sign and cleaned. Mr. Blake reminded me about image and backup in front of guests." She glanced at him, then at Daniel. "I understand that we need a good image," she added, Gently, I tried to act fast. Thank you, Daniel said. He turned to Mia. And you? Mia looked at her hands. Sometimes I am corrected at the desk even if a guest is there, she said. I want to learn. I just feel tense. She took a breath. I feel better when someone tells me in the back office. Daniel nodded. He shifted his focus to Mr. Blake and spoke with sincere respect. I believe you want this hotel to be excellent, he said. I believe you work hard. I also believe you can be even better with one simple change. Coach in private, praise in public. He paused. Respect is not optional here. We do not trade respect for speed or image. We can have both. High standards and high respect. Mr. Blake's face softened a little, the line of his shoulders lowered by a small degree. I understand, he said slowly. I have been pushing for order. Daniel smiled, not as a friend ignoring a problem, but as a leader inviting a better path. Order is good, he said. Order plus kindness is better. He stood. I'm going to call a short huddle, he said. 10 minutes, we will reset together. He asked Mia, please invite Jonah, the trainee, Rosa from housekeeping, and Amir from maintenance. If anyone else is free for 10 minutes, invite them too. If a guest needs help, we will pause. The goal is light and clear. In 5 minutes, a small circle formed near the lobby side. Jonah came with a curious smile. The trainee stood to the side, nervous. Rosa arrived from the back corridor, and Amir from the service door, wiping his hands on a clean cloth. A server from breakfast slipped in, and 2 room attendants stood near the edge, ready to return to their floors. Daniel looked at their faces, tired, kind, focused, and felt simple respect. Thank you for joining, he began. I came here as a guest. I saw your work. There is a lot to be proud of. You are the reason guests feel at home. Heads lifted a little. He continued, clear and warm. I also saw a few small things that make your day harder and the room colder. Today we fix those and we do it together. He held up one hand and counted on his fingers. First, praise. In public, coach in private. From today we will not correct each other in front of guests. If something needs guidance, we step aside. We use kind voices, even when we are tired. He looked at Mr. Blake as he said this, not to shame him, but to set a standard. Mr. Blake nodded once, slow and clear. Second, ask early, help fast. If you need a hand, use a simple signal. He raised 2 fingers. 2 fingers means please. Help me now. No approval needed. Anyone who sees it and is free, go. He smiled at Jonah. At breakfast rush, bell staff can back up the coffee station for 20 minutes. We will add that to the schedule. Third, fix the layout. He took a tiny map from his notebook and showed it. Napkins on both sides of the coffee station, an extra mat near the juice, a small bin under the table for quick toss, supplies here and here. He pointed. Amir, can you place a second sturdy mat by tomorrow morning? Amir nodded. Yes, I have one in storage. Fourth, clear decisions. If a delivery brings a small change, you do not need permission for common sense. Mia, if linen sizes change, say yes if it keeps operations moving. Note it for the record. We trust you. Fifth, breaks and support. Rosa, I know your team skips breaks to catch up. That is not healthy. We will add 1 float housekeeper in the morning for 2 hours to cover breaks and urgent rooms. It starts this week. He let each point sink in. Then he turned to Mr. Blake and spoke with respect. In front of all, you keep the front desk sharp, he said. Your standards are high. I value that. Today I ask you to add 1 more standard. Make dignity visible. Please lead the team in this change. Mr. Blake took a breath, looked at his team, and then did something important. He turned toward Mia and Ava. I will do that, he said. His voice was still firm but softer. Mia, I should have coached you in the back office. Ava, I should have supported you quietly during breakfast. I'm sorry. The words were simple, they were also powerful. You could feel the air lift, like a window opened after a long day. Daniel nodded in thanks. We all grow, he said. We all learn. He turned to the trainee. You are new, he said kindly. You will make small mistakes as you learn. That is okay. Ask questions, we are with you. The trainee smiled with relief, his shoulders dropping back into a natural line. 2 more quick items, Daniel added. We will start a 5-minute pre-shift huddle each morning and each afternoon. 1 good thing from yesterday. 1 focus for today. That's it. Keep it light. He looked at Rosa. Please add a small whiteboard in the back area for requests, so they do not stack only on the radio. Simple columns. New, doing, done. Move the sticky notes as you go. Rosa nodded. We can do that today, she said. I have markers. Daniel smiled. Perfect. He continued. And last, a gratitude wall on the corkboard. When a guest thanks you, write it on a small card and pin it up. We forget good words too quickly. We will not forget them here. He closed the huddle with 1 clear line. Respect is not optional. Kindness is not extra. They are part of the job like keys and carts. Then he clapped once softly. Thank you. Back to guests. People moved with a new energy. Jonah gave the trainee a quick fist bump and whispered a helpful tip. Mia returned to the desk with her natural smile. Ava rolled her cart with easy steps as if a weight had slid off her shoulders. Amir headed to storage to fetch the extra mat. Rosa and a room attendant walked together toward the back, already talking about Ducky. The morning after the huddle began with a new kind of quiet energy. The lobby looked the same, but the faces felt different. Mia stood by the desk with a small whiteboard marker tucked behind her ear. Jonah wheeled a trolley with a neat stack of spare napkins and 2 clean mats. Ava checked a small caddy with wipes, gloves, and a bright yellow caution sign. Mr. Blake reviewed the day's arrivals, then looked up and nodded to Mia. Let's do the 5 minutes, he said in a calm tone. Everyone nearby stepped into a small circle by the plant. Mia led, her voice warm. 1 good thing from yesterday. A guest said our maps helped them find the river grill. 1 focus for today. Help early at the coffee station. She smiled at the trainee. You'll shadow me for 10 minutes and then try a check-in with me beside you. Mr. Blake added, I will handle back-office calls during the first rush so the desk stays clear. Remember the signal if you need help. He raised 2 fingers and a few people lifted theirs back. A small sign that felt like a shared promise. Breakfast opened. The first guests came in slowly. Then the room filled. A small line formed at the coffee station. A cup tipped and 3 drops landed on the mat. Ava lifted 2 fingers without a word. Jonah saw it from across the room and came at once. I've got the napkins, he said, placing fresh stacks on both sides. The server slipped in to clear plates. Amir stepped in with a squeegee from the maintenance cart he had parked close by. The tiny mess was gone in seconds. No one scolded anyone, no one froze. People moved like a small orchestra, light, simple, helpful. The air stayed warm. Daniel stood by the window with toast and fruit, watching without watching. He caught the quick looks guests shared, the kind of happy looks people give when they feel safe and cared for. A child asked if he could pour cereal by himself. His mother smiled and said yes. He turned the handle slowly, guided by a gentle joke from Jonah. That's it, secret pilot speed. The boy laughed and looked proud. Ava placed a fresh mat by the juice as Amir rolled up the old one and set down the sturdier one he had promised. The new mat didn't slide at all. It felt like a little stone path in a garden, firm and safe. At the front desk, Mia whispered to the trainee, You greet first. I'll step in if needed. The trainee took a breath and smiled at a new guest. Welcome, he said. May I please see your ID? He used the script, but it did not sound stiff. It sounded like a human being trying to be kind. When he hesitated on the part about the gym, Mia leaned in with one sentence and then stepped back. He wrote the room number on the correct line. Mr. Blake stood a few steps away. He did not correct anyone. He only said after the guest walked off, "Nice job," in a voice that was clear and gentle. The trainee's shoulders lowered, and a real smile appeared. In the back corridor, Rosa pinned a small paper above the whiteboard. Today's float, 9:30, 11:30. Under it, 3 columns read new, doing, done. Requests moved like little boats across the board. Extra towels for 4:02, sewing kit for 5:18, baby crib for 3:05. A room attendant slid a sticky note from new to doing and then to done with a small tap of satisfaction. "Looks good," Rosa said. "We can see it at a glance." When the rush faded, the pre-planned breaks happened on time. Ava washed her hands, wiped her cart, and handed it to the float for 20 minutes. She sat in the small break room with a cup of water and a banana, not rushing, not glancing at the door every second. She looked at the corkboard. The gratitude wall had begun. It held 3 small cards. "Thank you, Jonah, for helping with our stroller." Mia's directions were perfect. "Ava kept the coffee area safe. She saved my shoes." The words were simple, but they had weight. She read them twice and smiled. Around noon, a delivery brought a surprise. The substitute linens again. Mia looked at the cart, then at the note, and decided without fear. "Yes, bring them in," she told the driver. "We'll note the change." She logged it on a clipboard by the desk. Mr. Blake noticed the action and said only, "Good call." It was one sentence, but it created space. Decisions could happen where they needed to happen. In the afternoon, Daniel walked the halls. He saw small changes that came from simple respect. A guest asked the trainee for more keys. The trainee smiled and said, "Of course," then stepped to the side to check the policy in a binder without feeling rushed. A server left a folded napkin and a tiny thank you note on the desk where Mia kept her map cards. "Your ideas help us too." Amir labeled the new mat with a small sticker, so housekeeping would know it belonged in the breakfast area. Rosa taught a younger room attendant how to fold the corners of a sheet with an easy trick she had learned years ago. "Like a little envelope," she said, making the fold with calm hands. The young attendant beamed when she got it right. Mr. Blake made his own changes. He took the trainee to the back office for a 5-minute coaching moment. "You did well," he said first. "Your voice is friendly. Next time, pause before the last line and look at the guest's face. It helps them feel you are with them." He ended with, "You can do this." The trainee nodded with bright eyes. When they returned to the desk, Mr. Blake saw Mia hand a guest a list of local shops. "Nice touch," he said aloud. It was praise in public. It landed softly and stayed. In the late afternoon, a small problem tested the new habits. One elevator stopped between floors for a minute, then restarted. The panel blinked. A worry could have spread. Instead, Mia called Amir right away, and Jonah headed to the elevator to stay with waiting guests. "It'll be right back up," he said with a calm smile. "Please step over here while Amir checks." Ava brought a chair for an older guest without being asked. Amir reset the panel, ran a quick test, and gave a thumbs up. The whole thing took 5 minutes. No one felt left in the dark. People felt looked after. Daniel walked out to the bench by the tree for a moment of quiet. He looked at his notebook and made a short list. Fast help, kind words, clear roles, safe breaks. He wrote a sentence and underlined it. Respect is now visible. He let out a slow breath, the kind that comes when worry leaves and hope takes its place. In the evening, he met briefly with Mr. Blake in a quiet corner. "How does it feel?" he asked. Mr. Blake thought for a moment. "Different," he said. "Lighter. I am learning to slow my words." He looked toward the desk, where Mia was, teaching the trainee her map card trick. "I thought standards required sharpness," he said. "Now I see they also need warmth." Daniel nodded. "Standards stand taller with warmth," he said. "You will get good at this." A week passed. Daniel returned quietly to the property without ceremony. People now knew who he was, but they treated him like a guest first and a leader second, which was exactly what he wanted. He arrived mid-morning and stood by the plant to watch. The pre-shift huddle ran like a small, happy habit. Jonah shared, "The good thing. A family wrote that we made their breakfast easier. The focus was simple. Two-finger signal works, keep using it." They finished in 4 minutes, then moved to their posts. The breakfast area was calm. The mat stayed in place. Napkins lived on both sides. A little bin under the table caught bits before they could become mess. The whiteboard in the back showed neat movement of tasks. The gratitude wall had grown to 8 cards. One said, "Thank you, Mr. Blake, for helping me with a late check-in." He had smiled when he saw that one and left it where everyone could read it. Daniel checked the guest comment cards. He saw clear changes. The line "Staff kindness" stayed high, and a new line "Feeling in the lobby" rose from tense to warm. A note from a guest read, "People here help each other fast. It feels like a team." Another said, "Everyone is kind and calm even when busy." A small chart by the back office door showed response times. Extra pillow requests dropped from 12 minutes to 7. Printer paper alerts were fixed in under 5, because now they were written on the whiteboard and checked every hour. Break compliance improved. Overtime shrank by a small, healthy amount. He spoke with Rosa again. "Are people taking breaks?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "They feel allowed. The float helps." She smiled. "Ava even sat with me for 10 minutes and told me a joke." Daniel laughed. "That is progress," he said. He spoke with Amir. "How is the mat?" Amir grinned. "Solid. Also, fewer calls at breakfast now," he said. "People ask early. I can prevent instead of repair." He stood with Mia at the desk for a moment. "How is the trainee?" he asked. "Good," she said proudly. "He did 2 full check-ins today. He wrote the numbers clearly," she added with a playful smile. Mr. Blake walked by and caught the joke. "He did," he said, and the smile reached his eyes this time. Daniel gathered everyone for a 2-minute thank you near the plant. He did not make a big speech, he kept it simple. "I came here to see the truth," he said. "I saw your effort. I saw your care. I saw your courage to change small habits for each other and for guests. You made this place softer and stronger at the same time." He held up 2 fingers with a gentle grin. People lifted theirs back, some laughing softly. The gesture now meant, "We help." He handed a small envelope to Rosa with a note for the team. A modest recognition bonus to share as a thank you for the changes and a promise to keep the float position in the morning for the next month. He asked Mia to lead a short training the following week on maps and local tips, turning her natural talent into a skill others could learn. He offered Jonah a chance to attend a hospitality